One of the things that stood out to me from Palm Sunday's message was Jesus' intense focus and call to living life, our time here and now, for eternal things. Not being the kernel alone, but focusing on the hope of eternal impact. That was what he was talking about. God is so good to line up passages for our application and thinking, and he did that for me because just yesterday I was reading in Philippians chapter 3, where Paul said in verses 7 and 8 and 14, if you want to check them out, some of the same type of things. Let me read those verses from a little different translation today, but see if you can hear the same kind of themes that Jesus had. Here's what Paul said. I once thought these things were valuable, but now I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. Yes, everything else is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For his sake, I have discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage, so that I could gain Christ. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us. And remember, Jesus said in John 12, verse 25, those who love their life in this world will lose it. Those who care nothing for their life in this world will keep it for eternity. So, how do we ensure that our lives make use of whatever we have here and now for the sake of eternal goals and not selfish goals? I'd encourage you to start thinking of your own list about some practical ways that you could accomplish that. In order to get you started, let me give you just a few things that I came up with in a few categories. The first is give instead of hoard. We've heard of some hoarding these days during the coronavirus, and we do have need. I do acknowledge that. But God promised to meet our needs and reward our giving. Christians who trust and give will display a focus on eternity and God's glory in some very unique ways in these days. I know toilet paper is a hot commodity right now, but maybe you need to start checking to see if others have what they need, toilet paper or something else, and even be ready to offer some of yours if they don't. Could extend to napkins, rice, flour, all of those kinds of things. So give instead of hoard. That shows your trust in God. Second, pray instead of worry. Corrie ten Boom said, worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It just empties today of its strength. Prayer is our personal, immediate access to our Father and the King of everything. He wants to help us, and his power can't be held back. When worry or fear comes, begin working first in prayer. Lead your family in that by praying together confidently. Even at meals, you can pattern your trust in God and ask him for help in these days, in addition to thanking him for the food that he's already provided. So pray instead of worry. And then invest instead of spend. Let's just talk about time for a moment. You know when you're wasting time. I know that I do. Figure out how to turn that time into an investment in someone. And there's a whole bunch of categories, right? How about investing in someone far from God? Send them a gift. Or invest in your friend. Give them a call. Invest in your children. Do something just for them or just with them individually. Invest in your spouse. Hopefully you've been serving your spouse already, but choose another way to invest and serve them. Invest in your parent. Share a memory with them for which you're very grateful. And you might use a little picture or memento to prompt that with them, but say how thankful you are for how your parents invested in you. Spending your time on you is what will cause your life to dry up and only be about the kernel instead of being transformed into the huge plant. Now, I use time in this invest instead of spend, but invest your money, invest your relationships, invest your resources, invest everything. Make sure it's about the eternal things, because that's what Jesus said was most important. So I gave you just a few, and think about that Palm Sunday excitement and the intensity of Jesus, and use that to renew your focus on what's important as we move toward Easter this Sunday. I can't wait to focus on the resurrection with you.